Hey, what's going on? It's your boy Dalton from the Petrolist, and if you know my channel at all, you probably have a good idea of what I'm going to be talking about today. The Australian GP featured one of the most contentious, petty crashes that I've seen in a while, but it's not unfamiliar territory. Let's get into it. So Formula One 2024 it's heating up, and it's turning out to be Lando Norris and his papaya McLaren, who's the dark horse. In my opinion, he should have won 3 races so far. In the last race, George Russell held him up for 2 laps, even though the McLaren was clearly faster. The McLaren had fresher tires, and in my opinion, Lando Norris getting past George Russell was inevitable. Not only did it take Lando Norris out of the fight for first place, it also caused George Russell himself to pit about 7 or 8 laps earlier than everyone else, making him non-competitive toward the end of the race. So that was the other time that Lando Norris should have won. He did win one already this year, but then the Austrian GP should have been a Lando Norris victory. The race, Verstappen has proven that he hasn't really changed that much since 2021. Now, we all know that Verstappen's 2021 championship was questioned. It was questionable. There's a huge asterisk there. I won't get into that. But we all kind of thought, myself including, we all kind of thought that Max Verstappen had calmed down since he has amassed, 40 wins and a couple of additional championships. In my opinion, the 2 championships that he won after 2021 were valid. They're real. Congrats to Red Bull and Max Verstappen for winning those, and let the best car and let the best driver win. I stand by that, and he deserved those victories. But I gotta tell you, this Austrian GP, the collision, I think it was on lap 64, it really proved that he's not matured. He's gotten comfortable. He's gotten, I guess you could say, satiated with winning as many races as he has. But when he is challenged, when there's another car in his rearview mirror and it's looking like that car is faster, Max Verstappen resorts to his old bag of tricks. And by old bag of tricks, I mean the one trick, and that is running into people who would have otherwise passed him. Now, I've got a montage of him doing just that I'll show toward the end of this video. But what's most striking, I think, is how a lot of the commentators in the mainstream, the folks with a lot of subscribers and stuff, they are bending and twisting their words and spinning webs of deceit all in order to try and soften the blow to Max Verstappen's ego, that he possibly did something wrong, that he possibly could have lost a race on his own merits. It's weird. It's actually caused me to lose a little bit of respect for some of the commentators that I used to like so much. Now, I don't go to Formula One for their commentary. I think that they're already compromised. There's a script that they want to keep to, so I go to independents. I listen to other folks, but there is a thing that Formula One has failed to address, and that is the gift and the curse of Max Verstappen's success. Now, Verstappen, he had an unsafe release. He was constantly moving under braking. He gained the advantage by going off track, and he caused a crash that caused his main competitor to not finish the race. And for all of that, Max Verstappen earned a 10-second penalty. Now, they're handing out penalties like hotcakes to every other driver. Let's take a look at a few of them. Both Lewis Hamilton and Albon, they got a 5-second penalty for being over the white line on pit entry. 5-second penalty for being over the line on pit entry. I didn't really study the Albon one, but I know the Lewis Hamilton one, he had a little bit of oversteer, which caused him to go over the line for just a second. That earned him 5 seconds. Now, Piastri called that out. I don't know how he saw that. I got to say, good on you, Piastri, for having good eyes and being able to call that out. But at the same time, it was very petty on Piastri's part. I got to say that. Just race your race. You ended up passing Lewis Hamilton anyway. Your car was great. Your driving was great. But the petty, call as you're driving by, there's a lot of pettiness in the Austrian GP. That was one of the things. All right, 10-second penalty for Fernando Alonso for making contact with Zhou. Although both cars were able to continue racing. And you could see by the way Fernando Alonso's car locked up that him shoving Zhou was not on purpose. Got a 10-second penalty. All right, 5-second penalty for Perez speeding in the pit lane, and 5-second penalty for Norris, track limits. All those penalties handed out. Verstappen had a laundry list of bad driving antics and only got a 10-second penalty. Formula One, you guys are looking sus. Hella sus. All right, let's get into the race. So lap 1, very similar start to last week. Verstappen had a great start, as did Norris and George Russell, all off to a great start. But Verstappen and Norris did not forget that George Russell was back there. They made sure that he was not able to get an easy lead. Lewis Hamilton looked like he was getting ready to battle for the podium early on. Looked great. Looked like he was going to pass George Russell at any moment over the first few laps. But then the weirdest thing, Mercedes tells Lewis Hamilton to give Sainz back a position.
Okay, Lewis, we're under investigation for turn 1, so we need to let Sainz pass.
So there was the instruction on the radio from Pete Bonnet.
Because he just barely, in my opinion, gained the advantage. But here's the thing, that move was still under investigation by race control. Race control did not say that Lewis had to give the penalty back. Instead of fighting for Lewis Hamilton, Mercedes conveniently says, give the position back. Strange call for a team that wants to win, not a strange call for a team that wants to stifle one of its drivers. Let's go ahead and leave that alone. I could rant and rave about that for quite some time, but I won't. Let's move on. Lap 20, Alonso locks up his tires like I mentioned a moment ago, makes contact with Zhou. Both cars are able to continue the race. Lap 32 through lap 41, the Alpines are going at it, and it is beautiful racing. I know that there's no love lost between those two drivers, but they did such a good job of battling it out without crashing into one another and taking one another out. They used angles and braking and vehicle position to get ahead of one another, and in my opinion, that was probably the best example of wheel-to-wheel racing, clean wheel-to-wheel racing that I've seen in quite a while. The two Haas drivers were kind of going at each other. Like I said, Piastri had a bit of a petty moment. I'm still a Piastri fan, but yeah, that did suck. But all the while, Lando Norris remained within striking distance of Verstappen. I want to say by lap 38 or something. Norris was within 7 seconds of Max Verstappen, just waiting for Max to make a mistake or for Red Bull to make a mistake, and that they did. By lap 52, that opportunity that Norris was waiting on happened. Red Bull handed Max Verstappen a 6.5 second pit stop, completely out of character for Red Bull. And then, to make things even worse for himself, Max Verstappen goes wide on his outlap, dropping the gap between himself and Norris from about 7 seconds down to about 1.5. And from there, Norris just kept attacking Max Verstappen relentlessly, going on the inside, going on the outside. But, Max Verstappen, he kept moving under braking, forcing Lando Norris to brake too much, forcing Lando Norris to go wide too much.
Place back and he knows it.
He can't keep moving after I've moved. It's just dangerous. Oh, we're going to have a big shot. He forced me to go wide and look off.
And he kept eking out the lead from Lando Norris through what I'm going to call a little bit of dirty driving. I'm going to call it a lot of bit of dirty driving. But then, lap 64, the freaking crash that everybody's been talking about. Max Verstappen crashes Lando Norris to the outside of the track, causing Lando to not be able to finish the race, causing himself a flat tire, and allowing George Russell to ride his tractor to victory. George Russell was nowhere in the fight. I think it was like anywhere between 12 and 17 seconds behind at that point. The least climactic victory that I've seen in quite a while. And theft of Lando Norris's second Grand Prix victory. I'm going to have to say it. Shame on Max Verstappen for those driving antics. Shame on Formula One and the FIA for absolutely failing to correct this problem a long time ago. Max Verstappen thinks he's untouchable because Max Verstappen is untouchable. There was a great quote. All right, I want to say it was Stella talking to Sky Sports. He said, the problem is that if you don't address these things honestly, they will come back. They have come back today because they were not addressed properly in the past. Yeah, absolutely right. Where there were fights with Lewis that needed to be punished in a harsher way. Now, he said a lot more than that. I'm going to read it one more time. The problem is that if you don't address these things honestly, they will come back. They have come back today because they were not addressed properly in the past, where there were fights with Lewis that needed to be punished in a harsher way. That is McLaren team principal Andre Stella on the incident between Lando Norris and Max Verstappen. This coddling of Max Verstappen has to stop, otherwise we're never going to get the clean race that racing fans want, and Formula One is going to continue to look sus AF. Formula One, please fix it. I'm glad it wasn't Lewis Hamilton crashing this time, because I know that the media in the comment section would just be like, oh, it's Lewis Hamilton crying again. It was Lando Norris. Couldn't have happened to a better guy, unfortunately. And you can't say that Lando Norris is, crying about Max Verstappen's driving. The media loves the fact that they get to talk about the bromance, the friendship between Lando Norris and Max Verstappen. Well, I'll tell you something. After that driving, I think that that relationship is going to be strained. Unconscionable. That's my rant. I'm out.
Do you believe what we're seeing? Verstappen!
Nice. Oh my god.
Ferrari of Sainz. Oh, they're stepping on got top two go off the road. He's trying to take the lead. Fourth wide by Verstappen going into the turn 9 hairpin. Verstappen goes into turn 1. Almost hit Verstappen. He goes on the track and then forces racing to wheel into the first corner.
Verstappen, off the road he goes. Do you believe what we're seeing? Verstappen!
Nice. Oh my god.